Good morning, children. So let's start the lesson. The enemy. In the last class, we have seen that Sadav had started performing operation, and his dear wife Hannah, though she didn't lie, but she had started helping her husband in operation. As it was first time for Hannah, so she was getting nervous, she was feeling sick, she was vomiting, but in spite of that, she was ready to help him. Now let's see. Those scars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadav. But he did not answer. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the kidney. All thought left him. He felt only the purest pleasure. Hannah saw some scars on the neck of the man near his ear. So Hannah, raising her eyes towards Sadav, asked that what are these scars? But Sadav didn't listen to her. That time, Sadav's tip of instrument had touched something hard, and now all the thoughts from Sadav's mind had gone. Now the only thought was there, and the thought was of the happiness. He was very happy. He was feeling pleased because what was that hard thing against which his instrument had striken? Because that was the bullet. He was trying to find bullet from his wound, and now he had found. So he was very happy. He probed with his fingers delicately, familiar with every atom of this human body. His old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge. Ignorance of the human body is the surgeon's cardinal sin. Sirs, he had thundered at his classes year after year. To operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it anything less than that is murder. He probed. Probed means examined. Then he examined whether it was bullet or not, very delicately, very softly with his fingers. Sadav was such a skilled doctor, such an efficient doctor, competent doctor, that he had the knowledge of each and every part of human body. Sadav's one professor, when he was in America, he was learning surgery. Then he remembered that his one professor always used to tell in the class that if a surgeon, if a doctor doesn't have the complete knowledge of the human body and he is going to perform operation, it means he is going to murder someone. So, a surgeon must have the complete knowledge of the human body. And Sadav had. It is not quite at the kidney, my friend, Sadav murmured. It was his habit to murmur to the patient when he forgot himself in an operation. My friend, he always called his patients, and so now he did, forgetting that this was his enemy. Sadav was in habit of calling his patient a friend. When he was totally engrossed in operation, totally busy with operation, then he forgot himself. And he started talking to his patient. He called his patient friend. So now also he called him friend. Although he was his enemy, but he called him friend. And he told, friend, the bullet is not exactly at the kidney. Then quickly, with the cleanest and most precise of incision means the cutting of the organ of human body by the surgeon as a part of operation. This is called incision. What is the cutting of the organ of human body by the surgeon as a part of operation. Then quickly, with the cleanest and most precise of incisions, then very quickly and exact cutting. He cut exactly the part where he should cut. So with his quick and precise then quickly, with the cleanest and most precise of incision, then very quickly and with very clean cutting, he took out the bullet. The man quivered, but he was still unconscious. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words. Guts, he muttered, choking. They got my guts. Shadav, Hannah cried sharply. Hush, Shadav said. When he took out the bullet, then out of pain, the man suddenly cried. Although he was unconscious, but he cried. He cried some words, some English words such as guts, got, they got, these kinds of words. When Hannah heard him muttering, then Hannah was afraid. And Hannah cried, Sadav! Then Sadav indicated her, motioned her, keep silence. The man sank again into silence so profound that Sadav took up his wrist, hating the touch of it. Yes, there was still a pulse so faint, so feeble, but enough if he wanted the man to live, to give hope. But certainly I do not want this man to live, he thought. But after uttering these words, after murmuring, after muttering again, the man became unconscious. And Sadav was nervous for some time. He thought perhaps he died. So if he was dead or not, quickly he felt his pulse. But it was there. Although the pulse was weak, but it was there. And that was enough for the man to live. But Sadav told it to himself that he never wanted that the man should be alive. Although being a doctor, he was operating, he was performing his duty, but being a Japanese, being a nation lover, true patriot, he never wanted that his enemy should be saved. No more anesthetic, he told Hannah. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines he chose a small vial and from it filled a hypodermic and thrust it into the patient's left arm. Then putting down the needle, he took the man's wrist again. The pulse under his fingers fluttered once or twice and then grew stronger. As his pulse had become very weak, so quickly Sadav went towards his medicine, where he had put his medicine, and took a vial. Vial means ampoule. Vial means vial, bottle, a small bottle of medicine. And from there, from this vial, he filled his hypodermic. He filled his syringe and then pushed the injection, pushed the syringe into the arm of the body. And then again he felt his pulse. Now the pulse was stronger. This man will live in spite of all, he said to Hannah inside. He told Hannah that in spite of all his suffering and trouble and faint pulse rate, the man was going to be alive. The young man woke so weak, his blue eyes so terrified when he perceived where he was, that Hannah felt compelled to apologize. She herself served him, for none of the servants would enter the room. When she came in the first time, she saw him summon his small strength to be prepared for some fearful thing. Don't be afraid, she begged him softly. How come you speak English? He gasped. I was a long time in America, she replied. She saw that he wanted to reply to that, but he could not. And so she knelt and fed him gently from the porcelain spoon. He ate unwillingly, but still he ate. After some time, the man woke up, means the man got his consciousness, but he was very weak. And he was terrified also. When he saw that where he was, when he felt where he was, his blue eyes became terrified. Then Hannah was compelled, bound to apologize, although she never wanted to feel sorry, to tell any soothing and becoming and consoling words to the enemy. But seeing his condition, pitiable condition, Hannah was compelled to apologize. She consoled him that don't be afraid. Hannah had to feed him herself. Hannah had to serve him food and anything herself. Why? Because in this room, their servants didn't come. Once, when Hannah first time came into his room, then she saw that the man had anyway gathered his strength. Someone means here, someone means call also, someone means gather. Anyway, had gathered his little strength and was ready to do any fearful thing. Just guess what might be the fearful thing for him? Perhaps he was ready to run away, escape. But Hannah consoled him. Hannah comforted him. Hannah told him, don't be afraid. When Hannah spoke in English, then the man was happy. The man told, English? You know English? Then Hannah told, yes. For a long time, we have lived in America. The man wanted to tell something more, but he didn't tell, as he was very weak. Now he will soon be strong, she said, not liking him, and yet moved to comfort him. Although she didn't want him to console, to comfort, but yet she was doing. She told that very soon you will be strong. He did not answer. When Sadaf came in the third day after the operation, he found the young man sitting up, his face bloodless with the effort. Lie down, Sadaf cried. Do you want to die? He forced the man down gently and strongly and examined the wound. You may kill yourself if you do this sort of thing, he scolded. What are you going to do with me? The boy muttered. He looked just now barely 17. Are you going to hand me over? For a moment Sadaf did not answer. He finished his examination and then pulled the silk quilt over the man. I do not know myself what I shall do with you, he said. I ought, of course, to give you to the police. You are a prisoner of war. No, do not tell me anything. He put up his hand as he saw the young man was about to speak. Do not even tell me your name unless I ask it. On the third day after the operation, Sadao came to his room. Sadao had come to his room to probe his wound, to examine his wound. Then Sadao saw that he was sitting up. Sadao scolded him. Sadao told him, do you want to die? If you will do such kind of thing, such sort of thing, definitely you are going to die. And then Sadao gently, but with his full strength, made him lie down. Then the man asked Sadao, that what are you going to do with me if you hand me over to the police? Sadao that time did not answer anything. First of all, he examined his wound and then he told that I myself don't know what I should do with you. But definitely, being a Japanese, being a patriot, I should hand you over. Then the man wanted to tell something more. But Sadao told, no, you are not going to speak anything. Even you will not tell me your name. They looked at each other for a moment and then the young man closed his eyes and turned his face to the wall. Okay, he whispered, his mouth a bitter line. Then the man turned his face towards wall and he told, okay. But when he told okay, then a bitter line, bitter expression he had on his face. Outside the door, Hana was waiting for Sadao. He saw at once that she was in trouble. Sadao, Yumi tells me the servants feel they cannot stay if we hide this man here anymore, she said. She tells me that they are saying that you and I were so long in America that we have forgotten to think of our own country first. They think we like Americans. It is not true, Sadao said harshly. Americans are our enemies, but I have been trained not to let a man die if I can help it. The servants cannot understand that, she said anxiously. No, he agreed. Then Sadao saw that Hana was standing at the door and she was waiting for him. It seemed as if Hana was in any trouble. Then Sadao went there. Then Hana told that Yumi, who was Yumi? Hana's maid servant. Yumi has told me that the servants don't want to stay in our house. They say that if we are going to hide the enemy anymore, then they will leave our house. The servants have to say that as we both have lived in America for a long time, so we like the American things. We like the American persons. We have no love for our country. Sadao felt hurt. Sadao told, no, it's not true. All the Americans are our enemies. But I have been trained, I have been taught that if I can save, then I have to save the man. Then Hana told, but the servants won't understand these things. Then Sadao told, yes, you are right, they won't understand. Neither seemed able to say any more, and somehow the household dragged on. The servants grew more watchful. Their courtesy was as careful as ever, but their eyes were cold upon the pair to whom they were hired. So anyway, for some days, the household dragged on. The family continued. The servants lived and all the activities were going on in the house. But the servants were always watchful, alert. Although they behaved outwardly as courteously, as politely as they behaved earlier, but inwardly they were contemptuous. They had hatred for their master. They had cold attitude towards their masters. It is clear what our master ought to do. The old gardener said one morning. He had worked with flowers all his life and had been a specialist too in moss. For Sadao's father, he had made one of the finest moss gardens in Japan, sweeping the bright green carpet constantly so that not a leaf or a pine needle marred the velvet of its surface. My old master's son knows very well what he ought to do. He now said, pinching a bud from a bush as he spoke, when the man was so near death, why did he not let him bleed? Now one by one, about every servant has been described here, that what did they think about their masters. So first of all, about the gardener, he was very old. He was working here from his father's time. He was very loyal to his father. He was expert in moss particularly. Whole life he had worked with flowers, and particularly he was expert in identifying moss, working with the moss. Once he had made a garden of moss for his father. So his feelings, his views about Sadao were that although his master knows what he should do, but still he is trying to save the man. If he had already lost so much blood, then why did he save him? That young master is so proud of his skill to save life that he saves any life, the cook said contemptuously. She split a fowl's neck skillfully and held the fluttering bird and let its blood flow into the roots of a wisteria vine. Blood is the best of fertilizers, and the old gardener would not let her waste a drop of it. Now, what was the view of their cook is given here, is described here. The cook, she was a lady. She told that their master thinks himself so skilled, so competent. Their master is so much proud of himself that he is ready to save any person's life. He doesn't hesitate to save his enemy even. And saying this, he split, he broke the neck of the fowl. Fowl, what is fowl? Earlier also we have read. A bird which is kept only for the eating purpose, such as hen also. She split, she broke the neck of the fowl, and she was holding the fluttering bird in such a way so that all the drops of blood should fall into the roots of a wisteria one. Wisteria, a kind of creeper, because the blood of fowl is a good fertilizer for wisteria vine. So the gardener never allowed her to waste a single drop of blood. So the gardener, the cook, all were against their master and mistress. Why? If they were disloyal to them? If they were faithless? No. Because they all were patriots. They all had deep love for their country. So they didn't want to see any enemy in their house. It is the children of whom we must think, Yumi said sadly. What will be their fate if their father is condemned as a traitor? Now about Yumi, who had disobeyed her mistress, who had refused to wash the enemy. Why? Was she impudent? Was she rude? No. Because she had also love for her country. She was dedicated to the children. She was emotionally attached to their children. So she told that what will be the fate of the children, luck of the children. They would be called the children of a traitor. Traitor means children. So children, that's all for today. Thanks.